We are good to go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Gerber, and I'll be your facilitator for our webinar for gender mainstreaming in technical women in industry. Just a little bit about myself. Let me just go down to my next slide. Apologies. I currently work at Gauteng Consulting Engineers as a civil technologist with over a decade of experience in stormwater management, road rehabilitation, and maintenance of existing infrastructure. Throughout my career, I have developed a strong expertise for technical problem solving, construction oversight, and project management, ensuring that the project runs effectively and delivers sustainable engineering solutions. Currently, I serve as an assistant route manager where I oversee all technical aspects on road maintenance. I take pride in giving engineering teams the mentoring professionals and ensuring that the project execution aligns with technical and regulatory standards. My attention to project planning, budget control, and stakeholder communication helps drive the success for long-term infrastructure resilience. I hold a national diploma in civil engineering and also a BTech in urban engineering from CPUT, Cape Peninsula University of Technology, here in Cape Town. My dedication to professional growth has led me to become an active member of the CESA YPF, where I chair the Western Cape Division, contributing to industry engagement and knowledge sharing. Additionally, my PMP certification strengthens my ability to lead structured projects, execution, and make strategic decisions that enhance project outcomes. So just first and foremost, before I go and introduce our speakers and setting the scene for our event for today, I would just like to say thanks to our diamond sponsors, Investec Sutari and Kau Finika, as well as our gold and silver sponsors. So thank you very much for them. Without them, these type of events won't be possible. So through my passion for technical advocacy, it is an honor and privilege to welcome you to today's webinar again, where we celebrate, empower, and advocate technical women in our industries. Across the fields of engineering, technology, and innovation, and women continue to make remarkable contributions, pushing boundaries, solving complex problems, and redefining excellence. Yet, despite these achievements...
Look at that link again. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Ramalisa, would you just mute yourself, please? Thank you very much. So just to go back to our setting my scene, pushing the boundaries, solving complex problems, and redefining excellence. Yet, despite these achievements, challenges still remains. Gender mainstreaming is not just about inclusion, it's about structural change, ensuring that women in technical roles have equitable access and opportunities to leadership and professional growth. In this session, we will explore practical strategies to foster gender inclusiveness in workplaces, amplify female voices, and break down barriers that have historically limited representation in technical fields. Your participation in this conversation is crucial, whether you are a seasoned professional, a rising leader, or an advocate for equity. Your voice helps shape the change we seek. Let's engage, challenge perspectives, and forge pathways for more inclusive technical languages. So thank you for being part of this movement. Just before I introduce our first speaker, please post your questions in the Q&A during the speaker's presentation. So we have a nice Q&A session at the end where we will ask our speakers to attend to your questions. So thanks, please participate. So just first and foremost, I would like to introduce our first powerhouse woman. She's Jabulile Msiza, the chairman of Jones and Wagener Board of Directors, and leads a dynamic team of engineers in the waste engineering department, servicing waste management facilities across South Africa and other African regions. With nearly 20 years of experience, including almost 15 years with EXA registered professional engineer, she's passionate about environmental protection design, particularly for waste management facilities, barrier and capping systems, and the use of geosynthetic materials. Jabulile is a member of CESA, IGSSA, and IWMSA, and serves as a board member for CESA, where she co-chairs the Transformation and Development Committee. She is also elected a council member for the International Geosynthetic Society, chair of the IGS Technical Committee on Barriers, and chair of the African Middle East region activities for the IGS. So please welcome Jabulile. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jean. Let me then share my screen. Please do let me know if everything is going okay there. It requires you to stop sharing before I can.
There we go.
All right, let's try this again. Share.
There you go, Jabulile. You can just press the presentation mode, and then you're good to go.
Is that all good?
All good.
Awesome. All right, once again, thank you very much for the introduction. Thanks to CESA for the series on gender mainstreaming, particularly focusing on just the technical strengths of women in order to bring forth the technical brilliance that we as women, as well as men, can add to our industry. Now, the outline of my presentation today, just 4 main points. Just talk about my background, so my early foundations, go through my career timeline, and also just tell you about my passion. I'm a waste engineer. A lot of people don't know what that is, and I'm hoping that after this session today, you will understand better what I do. Still today, my dad, my friends don't understand what I do. They say I just work for the mines. So I hope I can just give you just some more background in terms of what I do. And then also just some lessons learned along the journey that would hopefully encourage you. So I studied at the University of Pretoria. I did my BEng Civil Engineering there, finished in 2005. You can see there on the right a picture of my final year class. If you go to the UP now, it's a very different picture. So this is us, combined English and Afrikaans class. We started as separate classes, and eventually in 3rd year, we all came together. And I just show this picture because it also shows how much our industry has transformed, not only by race, but also by gender. In that picture, you'll see there were only 4 or 5 ladies that graduated in this year. In terms of the choice to study civil engineering, it was never top of my list, but at the time, my late sister was working for Spoornet and working with a lot of civil engineers. And when it came the time for me to apply for varsity and was putting medicine, she advised against it. She said that the civil engineers that she works with at Spoornet, there's just something about them that she can see myself doing that type of work. Thank God, because it has been a great choice and it has been a fulfilling career thus far. Yeah, when you join Jones and Wagner, you realize that your degree is not enough until you do a honors in geotechnical engineering. So that was the path that was set. So I did my honors in geotechnical engineering, which was a good foundation for the type of work that I was doing, because ultimately with waste engineering, it is applied geotechniques. So those 2 years doing those part-time studies through a Jones and Wagner bursary really equipped me in terms of some of the complex problems that I would be solving. And as I was doing this, I was interacting with other colleagues, with other industry players who had done the environmental honors at UP. And I could see that the coursework was aligned with what I was working on. And that's just the combination of the geotechnical and environmental studies would be beneficial in terms of my career progression. You'll see there's a bit of a gap between my studies. After the honors, I only ventured to the academic world again much later when I did an MBA. But before that, I had my mind set on going to do a master's, and I was going to go do it in Austin, in Texas. I was very rigid in my dream and hope and the place I would study at, including the supervisor that would supervise the work that I wanted to do. And unfortunately, I guess it was a no for a reason at that time. There was a lot happening both in the US and in South Africa at the time of my application, and I couldn't pursue that dream. And yeah, in hindsight, I realized that that delay meant that I could progress in other ways. And now I'm grateful for it. At that time, it was painful, but now I am grateful for it. So as I got more into management responsibility here at Jones and Wagner, I realized that I needed some management training because we are taught engineering and not business management, and also not managing people. And I felt this was the next step for me. I just wanted to share this career timeline just in order to see my progression throughout the years. So Jones and Wagner has been my first employer. At varsity, I started off with a bursary from another bursar. And in my third year, Jones and Wagner took over my bursary and started doing vacation work from third year. And that's when I became an unofficial employee of Jones and Wagner. And when I finished my exams in November of 2005, instead of taking the wise decision of taking a December break, I reported to work on 1 December, very eager to start my career as an engineer. And then things went well in terms of my development as an engineer, the mentorship opportunities, the supervision, working with great people who are not only just willing to share their knowledge, but assist you in growing, that I quickly achieved my requirements in order to register as a professional engineer. And that happened in quite a record time, you could say, because I was officially then registered as a professional engineer in May of 2010. And of course, with professional registration comes more responsibilities, and that opens doors for other responsibilities within the company. And thus, it happened with that responsibility and acting in it and taking ownership of projects, etc., that the promotions to associate, technical director, and chance had it that I could fill a vacancy in the West Department when our head of department left. And I was promoted then to that position in 2018. In 2019, I became a director of Jones and Wagner. So I don't know what happened to the NER there. And then when we formulated the international companies, became a director of Jones and Wagner International. And also then in 2022 became the chairman of Jones and Wagner. In terms of my other responsibilities, I chair our social and ethics committee. I also, for my sins, manage the HR portfolio and the EE responsibilities and skills development. So in this journey, especially that earlier phase of, between 2005 and 2010, you can see as a junior, I just sat and learned technical knowledge, but any opportunity to get involved, whether it was a social committee or employment equity, anything that was required, I had the attitude of raising my hand and doing. And I guess that led to some exposure in the company and eventually then to the growth that you see. So I guess the question I get is, were you lucky? And I think I just want to discuss this graphic here where it shows the intersection of hard work, talent, and chance. And that intersection is called luck. And talent is basically your natural aptitude. It is your ability to grasp concepts, to solve problems, to think creatively. It is just, it's something that just comes naturally to you. Hard work is what you invest. So you invest the long hours to technically develop. You invest in persistence. When times get hard, you just persist in your work. You invest in your dedication. So it's basically the grit. And that is where the hard work is. Chance, unfortunately, is that piece of this puzzle that is, it's often beyond our control. Chance some people call as being at the right place at the right time, or having access to the right opportunities, being seen by the right people. So chance is really outside of your control. And as much as you could work hard and you could be talented, sometimes the chance or the opportunity is not there. But that doesn't mean that you haven't done the work and thus you cannot be promoted, etc. That it doesn't invalidate all the effort that you put in. It is just a matter of patience for that chance to happen. So in my career, I've had lots of chances, which have then found me prepared in order to rise up or step into those opportunities. In terms of my industry involvement, I think Jean did go through this. But what I do want to stress here is that it is important to get involved in industry. I know that it takes away a lot of time, and some of this work needs to be done in private time because, especially if you're involved in many societies and committees, etc., it takes away from work time. The company might allow some of it, but a lot of it may need to be done in your spare time. And sometimes work and some of the things you do becomes a hobby. So I guess when you do it in your spare time, it doesn't feel like work at all. So in all of these committees that I've involved in, I've grown so much in terms of soft skill, in terms of building relations that are outside my small circle, because relationship is key. At the end of the day, the relationships that you built are going to open business opportunities, even personal opportunities in the future. And I've got a lot of international exposure through my involvement with the IGS, which has also come with a lot of sacrifices. For example, in the technical committee on barriers right now, we are a committee of 5 people, and I'm in South Africa. The vice chair is in Australia. The immediate chair is in New Zealand. We've got committee members in Asia, Germany, and we've got another portfolio member who sits in Canada. So, I mean, you can just map out that we are far and wide, just across the globe. So some of our meetings happen at ungodly hours. We try to alternate who is waking up in the middle of the night. But that's what it is. This all comes with stretching yourself a bit and seeing what that stretch might do in terms of exposure. So like I said, voluntary work is not just extra work. It is an investment in your growth, in your network, and your future influence as an engineer. It is an opportunity to get involved in framing the industry, in contributing to setting new standards, new guidelines. So I really, for me, my industry involvement has really helped me grow. So yes, I'm a waste engineer. What do I do? My work involves design of waste facilities. So with any waste facility, this would be an engineered facility that is licensed. There would be some construction of a barrier. So this would be the basal liner, and that is a system that would control any possible seepage of contaminants or effluent into the groundwater. So the system would have layers that perform different functions. And in those layers, there would be detection systems as well to see how the system is performing and if any other downstream intervention is needed. So that's what I do. I design the barriers. Each facility, based on its license, has a certain life or a certain limit of height. And when it gets to that, it needs a capping system. Again, the capping system is to prevent any infiltration from rainfall, to produce more effluent that could drive into the groundwater. So ultimately, you entomb the waste in between a basal system and a capping system. That is mainly my job. And this is for waste facilities, for ash disposal facilities, coal stockyards, other industrial waste, including some tailings waste as well. My designs incorporate a lot of geosynthetics. So geosynthetics are substitutes of natural products. So for example, instead of maybe using a sand as a filter, you could use a geotextile as a filter. So those are the geosynthetic applications I get involved in. And I also get involved in remediation work where there's contaminated land and we need to either put in cutoff systems to prevent plumes from moving wider than they already have. I get involved in that. I also get involved in a lot of monitoring and audit work with any site. I call it the bread and butter work. And I keep saying to the young engineers who get frustrated with doing the same work over and over again, there's always the bread and butter where you are looking at life assessments, you're looking at stabilities. It is work that you do all the time. And then once in a while, you get the ham and cheese in the sandwich where you are doing complex designs. But all of that and being able to monitor and design is great input because you can better design when you know how the facility is operating. I also get involved in design reviews. So internally, we have other departments doing similar barrier designs. And so we provide an internal service of reviewing those. And externally, some designs need a third-party review before they are approved. And I get involved in that. My favorite by far is getting involved in construction monitoring because now you see everything come together. You see this design come alive on site, making it fit sometimes in environments that are very difficult. There's also the contract administration, having a good fight with the contractors while you're fighting the quality versus cost battles. That makes me come alive. I really enjoy construction monitoring and administration. I also am an EOR for a tailings facility in Rustenburg. So that's basically what I do. I want to share with you this particular site. I do have permission to share this. This is Hoffontein. It is one of the largest privately owned hazardous landfill sites of South Africa. And my first job as a vacation work student at Jones & Wagner was to design a ramp that would be used to access the working front or the disposal areas, because I just want to get my laser on. So you can see here on this picture, you've got this waste site that is being filled. There is this main access route, but it is getting steeper as the facility is filling up. So there was a need then to have a new ramp that would enable easier access. And so, yeah, this was my first job. I designed this ramp, which was used successfully for a very long time on site, and I was so proud of it. That this first thing that I did has finally been built and is working, and I get to visit the site and see it work. So it was a very proud moment, and every time I told someone about this, whether it be my friends or my family, they couldn't get the excitement of someone actually just designing a dump road and being so proud of it. You know, engineers are proud of structures and bridges, etc. But on a smelly site where there's lots of gunk going in, I had this thing that I was extremely proud of. So I've learned so much on Hoffontein. I've spent more than 20 years working on this site, to the extent that I remember when I fell pregnant with my first child, I needed to stop going to Hoffontein for a period. And when those news were delivered for me, I actually burst into tears. I couldn't believe I couldn't go to my favorite place anymore. So I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to have learned so much on this site. When I wrote my registration, my PRN's registration report, I could focus on one project where I had been involved from pre-fees all the way to the detailed design and construction and commissioning, even to the authority level type of approvals. There was also a complication with the site in terms of its capacity. I mean, it was like more than 350,000 liters of leachate that would be stored here. And it had a wall greater than 5 meters. So it meant it needed dam safety office approvals, etc. And I managed to get all of that experience from this one project. This is the only site I've also spent a Christmas on. I remember when we were commissioning it, we had some issues where it would rise to a certain level and then it would start leaking, and then we'd need to pump it out again and figure out where the fault was. And we brought in an international expert to do an electrical leak location survey. And this was the first time that I got involved in such an inspection. So lots of fond memories on Hoffontein, and basically just seeing the site and how it has developed over the time that I've been there, and all the projects that I and my team have been involved in, and the continuing work. You can see that we've basically filled the entire license boundary, and we're now moving to potentially an interesting project of filling over a quarry. Jean, you've got your hand raised.
Yes, it's just me notifying you about your time so far. Very insightful.
I've got 5 minutes.
Still got some. I'll give you 5 minutes.
All right. So I get so excited talking about Hoffontein. But another site that has been a great teacher for me has been Shongweni, owned by the same client. And I think the most interesting thing about Shongweni is trying to prepare a valley, steep side slopes, and make a landfill stand against it. So those are the type of interesting challenges that I've been able to work on. We're currently building Valley 3, and you can see the progress on that site. So then just to move towards closure and just talk about some of the lessons that I've learned along the way. Number one has been not to take things personally. I remember as a young engineer once going to a site visit and walking into a meeting, and the client at that stage said to me, "You are all the wrong things." And you know when you think someone is joking, and I was about to laugh. And I could see he was serious. And he said, "You're young, you're female, and you're Black." And, you know, something like that could crush someone. But I really, through faith, through having this positive spirit, heartful spirit, I've learned over time to not take things personally. I think, especially things you cannot change. I've also learned to do my best, because when I do my best, at least I know that I cannot be blamed. Also, your hard work eventually speaks for you, because that same person who had criticized me eventually was giving praise. Like I said before, to get involved, to stretch yourself, get involved in voluntary associations, get involved at your own work, social committee, anything. Put your hand up, because that also puts you in spaces where you get access to certain information that will help you just to know the environment you're in better, and it will help you improve. Time management is extremely important, especially when you're involved in multiple projects, multiple management responsibilities. To have a proper plan, to have a calendar that you put all these responsibilities in, and make sure that you stick to that. And to try not to overcommit yourself. It's still difficult at this stage, but sometimes there's things you need to say no to. To be realistic in my expectations, know the environment you're in and what is possible. You know, sometimes, especially some of the juniors that are joining the workforce lately, have these unrealistic expectations of from junior, maybe within 2 or 3 years, being in management. And it's important to know what is possible, to know that you need to first get to a technical strength position before you can venture into management. Another thing is to maintain good relations. I've seen the value of just having good relations with your colleagues, good relations with clients and contractors and suppliers. Don't underestimate just getting along with people. And this doesn't mean you must bend over backwards over things that you shouldn't, but just to maintain good relations, because those are the contacts that will assist you in the future to achieve your goals. Again, when you stop learning, you stop growing. So continue to learn CPD activities, embrace the technological changes that are happening, AI. There's a lot of change, and if you're not going to grow, you're going to stay behind. Yeah, so that's basically me. And I wish I had more time, Jean, but we'll save it for the Q&A.
No, I appreciate. Yeah, thank you, Jabulile. Really, I like your presentation. It's literally from the ground up, from the landfill site all the way to the top. The way you presented it was quite insightful, and thank you for your presentation. Really inspires young women and young professionals in the industry as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So without further ado, I would like to introduce another powerhouse lady in industry. She's Tshidi Mndzebele. She's a seasoned business executive, entrepreneur, certified director, and engineering professional with over 20 years of experience to the table. Her career encompasses a wide range of sectors, including mining, manufacturing, engineering, and public sector, highlighting her adaptability and extensive knowledge. She possesses a BTech in industrial engineering from UJ, along with a PDBA and an MBA from Gibbs. She is currently pursuing a PhD in management at the WBS, reinforcing her dedication to lifelong learning. Wow, that's a big road you're going to walk, but good luck with that. Tshidi is the founder and CEO of AvenirHoldings, Pty Limited. The company focuses on EPCM and EPC projects in the built environment and infrastructure sectors. She served on several influential roles within the built environment, including a role as chairperson of the CESA Gauteng branch. Thank you, Tshidi. Welcome. I'll stop sharing my screen, and then the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Jean. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I think I just need to start sharing my screen, and then we'll take it from there.
100%.
I had to take lessons. I had to take lessons just before this. Are you able to see my screen?
There we go. You may proceed.
Okay, awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, visionaries, engineers, and extraordinary young women and men in this virtual room. I think before I start my presentation, I would like to start with a very brief video of who Tshidi is, and then from there we will talk about the journey. Thank you so much. Please just allow me a few seconds.
Tshidi, just to let you know, I don't hear any audio, but thanks for your presentation.
So that's me in a nutshell, me in 2025. And as Jean has already said, my educational background, which I will not bore you with, but I think over and above that, in terms of being a founder and CEO of AvenirHoldings, like he also mentioned, I participate in a lot of voluntary associations. Particularly right now, I'm a chairperson of CESA Gauteng branch. I'm also, I used to be, I'm a former second vice president of the Southern African Institute of Industrial Engineers. And please don't mind me looking away. I've got multiple screens in front of me, so don't think I'm being rude. And I also am an EXCO member at Master Builders Association in Johannesburg. I hold a trustee position for BESIMA, which is a building and construction industry medical aid. And I also chair the engineering task team at BBCBE, as well as participating in at CBE in the Women Empowerment Task Team. So in a nutshell, that's who Tshidi is right now. However, I would like to start this by taking you back to where it all started. And I will tell you all of this using an illustration of telling your story from a red Ford Courier buggy. So today I'll be sharing a story from a red Ford Courier buggy. So let me take you back to the year 2000. It was a blazing January morning in Kimberley. My parents, with unwavering belief, loaded my life into the back of a red 1996 Ford Courier buggy, which had no aircon, no luxury, no bells and whistles, just a dream tied, fastened with a rope and love in the buggy canopy. They drove me all the way from Kimberley to Johannesburg to begin a new chapter of my life. All I knew at that time, at the back of that red buggy, 1996 buggy, not to mention that, all I knew was that I wanted to be an engineer for practical reasons of increasing my chances of employability. And at that time, I didn't even know what the road ahead would be filled with. It would be filled with many detours, and also it would be filled with many crimes. But I chose industrial engineering because for me, it felt different. It was a lot more human-centric than any other engineering disciplines. And please, if you ask me by 1999, did I even know anything about industrial engineering? I knew nothing about industrial engineering. All I knew is I needed to be an engineer as a woman. So it wasn't just about machines. Industrial engineering is not just about machines and structures. It's all about systems that serve people. And as a young Black woman entering a field dominated by neither my gender nor my background, that human connection was everything to me at that time. So my career started off, let me go to the next slide. Why am I already saying thank you? Please, there you go. This is the next slide. So my career started at Daimler Chrysler, where precision was law and excellence a complete non-negotiable. From there, I moved to Standard Bank, stepping into the world of productivity and operational efficiency. And I know some of you might be asking yourself, an engineer in Standard Bank or at automotive. I think most of the people know industrial engineering can be used, can work in any industry because it's all about optimization, productivity, as well as streamlining processes. So in any industry, you have processes, right? So my main role really as an industrial engineer is to optimize those processes in a nutshell. So as I said, I then transitioned to the beating heart of South African industry, Sasol Mining, where I worked as a demand manager and later took on strategic supply chain roles at Anglo American and Gibela Rail. Now, being a Black woman in the mining industry, it's like walking into a boardroom where your competence, as rightfully illustrated by Jabulile in a presentation, where your competence is questioned before you even utter or even finish your sentence. It's being on site, watching eyes searching for a man to speak to instead of you. So people will be looking at you, but looking for a man that they can speak to and not necessarily you as a Black female. It's being measured against a standard that doesn't even exist, that a standard that didn't even have you in mind when it was created. But here's what I did. I didn't shrink, exactly what Jabulile said. I didn't shout, I showed up. And it matters how you showed up. Yes, it's important to show up, but the next thing is, how do you show up? I showed up prepared, professional, and technically excellent. I earned my space through performance. And when the door couldn't open, I brought my own key and sometimes brought a whole new door so that I can enter altogether. So as mentioned, the first decade of my experience was really more on industrial engineering work, gaining my technical expertise. And the second part of the second decade of my work has been, for me, an eye-opener. I've grown so much in it. And that's when I co-founded AvenirHoldings. AvenirHoldings, as rightfully mentioned earlier on by Jean, is an EPCM company. We started it in 2014, myself and my husband, who is also a fellow engineer, but a mechanical engineer. And this was one of the instances where I had to build a brand new door altogether. Let me be honest with you, transitioning from technical expertise to business or to owning a business and running your own business was not easy at all. In corporate, you have systems. At Avenir, at the time, I had a vision, and that was all. No systems, no processes, no policies, no guaranteed salary, certainly no certainty at all, just a vision of contributing to Africa's immense development potential. But I quickly learned that technical skills alone, as rightfully mentioned also by Jabulile, technical knowledge alone would not build a business. I needed at the time business acumen. And I immersed myself in the business side and it was just after I got my MBA in 2013 that a year after we started the business in 2014. I made sure that I studied finance, and not just for budgeting, but for strategy as well. I led marketing conversations to build credibility in a saturated market or industry. I sat at investor tables speaking both the language of engineers and of entrepreneurs. From overseeing the construction of Unit 224 at Eskom Kusile Power Station to delivering complex engineering design and stakeholder management services for Lafarge, and completing detailed electrical, mechanical engineering designs for a rail balloon infrastructure at South 32. These were just not projects for me as an industrial engineer being part of them. They were a platform for me where my identity as an engineer, as an industrial engineer, met the demands of high impact infrastructure. Let me pause there and say, as an industrial engineer, I brought more than just drawings or systems. I brought clarity to complexity. Because when you're managing multidisciplinary teams across timelines, budgets, and risk, your greater tool is not a calculator, it's coordination. So some of you may be asking yourself, but what does an industrial engineer bring to the table? I bring systems thinking. I saw every project, and even today, I see every project not as an isolated project or in silo, but as an interdependent process where whether it was mechanical, electrical, or civil, we designed, managed workflows and talked to each other, the workflows that talk to each other and delivered on schedules. And then when the other thing that I bring as an industrial engineer is process optimization, as mentioned earlier on. At Kusile, amidst massive scope and national pressure, my role was to ensure that every handover, every supplier, and every control point added value, not chaos. That's where engineering met orchestration from an engineering, industrial engineering point of view. And then in terms of stakeholder integration, technical work doesn't live in spreadsheets. That's what I've learned. It lives in communities. And at one of the projects that I was involved in, the South 32 project, I led engagement strategies that aligned engineers with client expectations, contractors, as well as compliance. My industrial engineering technical expertise also allows me to do cost controls as well as resource allocation and risk mitigations through planning. So today, running AvenirHoldings, the lessons that I've learned really as an industrial engineer is that corporate experience is a toolkit that I used from the first 10 years of my career. I used that technical expertise that I picked up as a toolbox for me to start a business, and that allowed me to even develop those processes, develop policies and procedures for the company. So when I would urge you, if you are thinking about transitioning from corporate into the entrepreneurial uncertain world, don't leave your corporate experience, use it as a toolkit, don't leave it behind. And then technical expertise, exactly what Jabulile said, technical expertise opens doors, but it's relationships that keep the doors open. And that's what I've learned even in the last 10 years, irrespective of how technically strong you are as a woman or even as a man. The most important tool or the most important skill that you can have is maintaining relationships, even from tertiary all the way to here, because you never know, you may need a person that you were in the same class with, or even they may need you in the near future. And your name is your brand, so guard it with your life. In terms of investing time in yourself, investing in terms of lifelong learning, investing in terms of doing your CPD training courses. Investing time is not a matter of, it's not something that can be left for others to do for you, but it's something that you need to do for yourself, and you need to be intentional about it. But also passion will carry you when purpose will carry you when purpose fails you. What this lesson means to me is that in the 10 years that I've been running the company, I think and I always go back to this, if I were not an engineer, what would I be? And I think that's the one question that I always ask myself. And I think I would have actually been a teacher, because I'm very passionate about development of professionals, and particularly female professionals in the engineering space. So my purpose is driving me more on a daily basis than my purpose drives me when the passion fades along the way. And also, you have to believe in your dream first. When I started the business AvenirHoldings in 2014, it was about me believing in what I wanted to do at the time, not necessarily other people having to believe in me, and then they only come after. I have believed in myself, and that's what I learned in the process. And if you can just allow me to go to the next slide. And just a little bit of background in terms of AvenirHoldings. It was founded in 2014, and we've been able to employ close to more than 100 employees. And the employees that I'm referring to are engineers, 80% engineers, professionals in the space that we work in. So we are ISO, triple ISO certified from an environment, quality, as well as safety perspective. We are based here in Johannesburg, Rustenburg, as well as we've got a satellite office in Eswatini. We are affiliated, and I think it's one important aspect that Jabulile also mentioned, your affiliations, your voluntary associations that you are affiliated to. They expose you to a network that you would not ordinarily have been exposed to. Yes, on the one hand, it may not be a benefit that you see in your pocket immediately, but it's an investment. Again, earlier on, I spoke about investing in yourself. It's an investment that you put in yourself. It's an investment that you put for your business if you are running your own business. So the affiliations that we are with, there are SACPMP, EXA, as well as CESA and BBCBE. And EXA, I think earlier on I spoke about being a teacher rather than an engineer. The reason why I said so is because I find that, especially in the last 5 years, my passion has actually drawn me towards developing other people, more so imparting knowledge and imparting technical skill that in my time I was having struggles in picking up, and mentoring within my organization as well as outside in the broader industry. At the moment, as AvenirHoldings, we are mentoring about 30 candidates who want to be professionally registered, and that project is run by myself because of the passion that I have, particularly for women in the professional space. And so the elements that I bring to the candidacy development space is really making sure that it's not even about technical side. I think in terms of the technical side of things, we see that a lot of professionals or practitioners are technically sound, but I think especially in the women on the side of women empowerment, it becomes very tricky because we've got so many things that we need to grapple with as women. And my part in the development of others is really to remove the barriers, to help them to remove the barriers in terms of helping them to grow as individuals. So our company has has gotten accolades over the last couple of years, and the most noteworthy one is the CESA Aon Small Medium Business of the Year, which was last year, the Big Five Community Project of the Year. And with the Big Five Community Project of the Year, what we did there, again, coming back, linking my passion with my technical expertise, I developed a strategy of doing business with mining clients. But as you know, mining clients, most of the time they would want maybe local communities to be to participate. And yet at the same time, there's a conundrum where local communities may not necessarily have the technical expertise. So the strategy that I put on the table was to work with the local partner, with the local enterprises, those that of course met the requirements that we put on the table. So what we did there was together as a collective, we built a school and a school in Rustenburg, and that collaboration, that strategy that was put on the table is what won us the Big Five Community Project of the Year, because it wasn't just about us ensuring our revenues were increased, but it was also skills development, imparting technical skills, but also ensuring that the enterprise that you are working with is also empowered in the process. And some of the other noteworthy accolades that we have received over the years is being a finalist in, yes, Jean, I see your hand, and I believe that is just 5 minutes, yes. And as mentioned, the Standard Bank Top Women-Owned Company, as well as the newly accolade that I received this year as a woman of stature in the category engineering and mining. And that has just been testament to the work that I've been doing in the mining space and in the engineering space. And I think with this slide, I already spoke to it in terms of what does an industrial engineer bring to the table. Systems thinking, process and business optimization, stakeholder integration, cost control, resource allocation, life cycle management, and all of the other ones that I mentioned. And I think earlier on I also mentioned in terms of the accolades that we have received over the years up until this year, and that has just been testament to the hard work and the effort that also Jabulile in her presentation alluded to. So nothing happens by chance. I think for me, what I've learned over the 20 years is that when you put your energy and your effort to something and you really love it, it ends up not being work. I mean, I remember when I was at corporate, I think I would work from 8 to 5. But running your own business, literally, you go over and beyond the number of hours that are stipulated. However, because I love what I'm doing, it never feels like it's work. It's just an extension of who I am. So today at AvenirHoldings, we are not just a consulting firm. It's an ecosystem of engineering excellence, enterprise development, and empowerment of our youth through our academy that we have, and through the foundation that we have that is helping shape the next technical generation of leaders. So thank you so much for the time. Jean, over to you.
So thank you very much for your presentations. Very well, very professional, set up. I can see AvenirHoldings is making big strides in the industry. I just want to, on a lighter note, I also want to come out of a Red Fort bucky if I have this much of, development and opportunities, and I just see it as a very good story, success story. How people must just go again. Your passion is your passion. You must go from the ground up, and I think that is what you girls accomplished in your presentations today, or our professional leaders achieved today. So now I just want to open up the Q&A session. I have 2 questions for each of our speakers. Maybe The first one can be a bit twofold, and then I'll jump to our Q&A. The first one would be for Jabulile. I see you make mention that you were denied to go and study further in Texas. I know that can be a bit of a roadblock for your career going forward. So what tools and techniques did you use when you were declined to go study further and to keep pressing on your path? I would like to get the conversation flowing a bit on that.
Yeah.
You'll be able to go for that. Thank you, Jabulile.
Okay. So in hindsight, I was very rigid in my choice. I was aligned with what a certain professor was doing in his work regarding evapotranspirative covers. So it is basically a different type of cover for dumps, mine waste sites, etc. And this is now, I had identified, this is the future. We are moving away from using compacted clay and covers. If I can get on this now, put in the 3-4 years, I could develop a solution that is going to work, especially in our type of environment. So when I applied, there was no range. It was one guy, one campus, one course. And I think maybe what I could have done is maybe rather applied for a general master's program, maybe a year of coursework, etc., get there, and then eventually move into that stream. But there were quite a few things that were beyond my control. Remember what I shared about chance. It was not my time, because what was happening at that time, the US was going through some financial, I think there was just an economic issue. They were going through a recession, which meant that a lot of the engineers were losing work and were pursuing post-doctorate or postgraduate type of opportunities that would come with some stipend or income. So there was no space for a foreigner wanting to fill that type of position. So yeah, beauty of hindsight, right? But what it meant is we started building a family. I also then started pursuing other managerial type of work while pursuing my professional and technical development through short courses and conferences, etc.
Great answer. Thanks for that. It's really inspiring. Just for while I have you on the line, Jabulile, I see there's a question in our chat box. So just to engage a bit, from Anya Jansen van Rensburg, says, "Hi, Jabulile. Thank you for your great presentation. What would you say was your biggest challenge in your career thus far, and how did you overcome the challenge?" I think this is a bit separate from the question that I asked. So you can go for it, Jabulile.
So this challenge remains a challenge. Let me just say that. I'm overcoming it every day. I think having had progressed so quickly meant having to manage people. And it's always so difficult when you are someone who loves people, who overextends themselves to just see that people are happy and they do well. And with managing people comes the difficulty of also managing their expectations against the business objectives and goals, and trying to align that, giving truthful feedback while maintaining respect and empathy and being kind. It's just, I think, dealing with people, especially where you are about to give disappointing news, it's always very difficult in terms of them just maintaining the relationship and giving them hope, because you also don't want people who've lost hope or are disengaged to try and wake up and come and be productive in the workplace. So just that whole issue about managing people. The other thing that's still difficult is building relationship for people to then leave. Losing people is still quite difficult. But it's something that will happen. It is guaranteed that people will progress as their dreams and their goals change. And while you think it's not a loyalty thing, it's just about them pursuing what is best for them at that time. But it still hits very personally when you lose someone who's been on the journey with you for a long time.
Like part of you went away because you invested a lot. But thanks a lot for your insightful answer. Just for Tshidi, just to keep it nice and flowing and engaging. We talk about business excellence. It's just a question from my end, and then I'll jump to the chat. What opportunities arose from your recognition as being awarded medium firm or at the Aon Awards? Is it medium or small? Sorry, I didn't write that down. So in terms of your opportunities, what arose from that?
Look, I think the reason, thank you so much for that. Great answers, Jabulile, I think can resonate very much with what you had to say. The opportunities that arose for me and the company particularly, I think being recognized by CESA and Aon, number one, already tells the market that you as a company, you value engineering excellence. That's number one. And number two, already it opens up that conversation to have with main consultants, so I can put it like that, or even with clients. Already they somehow believe your story. They become comfortable with what you say you are selling. And especially as a small medium company, there's a lot of convincing that needs to happen. So the accolades that we received as a company somehow put us in a better position to sell our value proposition to the client and to the clients and to the market. So that's what has how it has helped me in terms of widening also the network or the circles that I have around me. So again, with these things, it's not a overnight success, so to say. It's a step in the right direction for you to build a relationship with the right person. And relationships are not built overnight. It's a journey. So I think where I'm seeing the business is right now, based on where it was last year with all of these accolades, we are recognized in the market. We are recognized in the industry, and we can say we don't bring our own door. Like I said earlier on, people can even invite us to open the door to come and have a discussion with them. So I think it's a good way to get that exposure as a small to medium firm. I hope that answered you.
Yes, 100%. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to throw it at your end as well. What would you say is your biggest challenge in your career thus far, and how did you overcome it? Except for the port bucket. Let's leave the port bucket.
That was just the foundation, Jacques. It was actually the right foundation. But I think starting the business, I must say, I remember, and it wasn't just a challenge for me, it was a challenge for the family, my family, where now you move from you downscale, you move from a house to a townhouse where now kids have to sleep as in they're sleeping like they are sardines and they are not happy, and everybody's just not happy, and you are not even getting the salary that you want to get. For me, I think that was a challenge that I had to overcome, and I'm glad that I overcame it. And I think throughout the entrepreneurial journey and technical journey, when in 2022, the biggest challenge for me as a business leader and a business owner and an entrepreneur was having to face the reality of an uncertain world. Not that on a daily basis it's not uncertain, but at that time for me it was like a just chalk and cheese. where even I had to make a decision of downscaling the business and making those tough decisions of letting go of resources that or employees that you would not necessarily afford to keep. For me, that was it was a personal one, and it took me a while to get over it, and I think I'm still getting over that. And hence my passion of trying to develop others so that they don't necessarily rely on what the employer gives them, but to enable them to do things even outside what the employer gives them. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, well done. That's a very big challenge. I think stepping into that role is quite daunting. But yeah, well done for achieving what you've achieved so far. I'm gonna allow 2 to 3 more questions. I see there in the webinar chat. Thank you, ladies. My question is from Fumani. My question is as follows: do you define gender mainstreaming in a technical or engineering context? I think this is an open-ended for one of you two ladies to answer. Maybe Tshidi, you can go first if you have an answer.
Repeat that question again for me, Jean.
How do you define gender mainstreaming in a technical or engineering context?
Okay, all right. For me, gender mainstreaming talks to, especially for women, it talks to being the environment being cognizant of the dynamics that different people bring to the employment, so to say. So if the environment is not conducive enough, then it makes it very difficult, particularly number one for women. I think Jabulile mentioned earlier on when she had to go for on maternity and then having to come back. I think in environments that do not necessarily have that at the back of their mind, it becomes very difficult for the lady to be technical enough or even to be technical for a long time, because now you're thinking of all of these responsibilities that you have and dynamics that you are bringing to the table. But for me, gender mainstreaming, particularly for women, speaks to ensuring that the ground is fertile enough for women to grow in. Because if it's not fertile, then there's a lot of other barriers that will actually inhibit them from being technically strong or from being incredible leaders that they can be in the future. So it's very important for the ground to be prepared. I don't know, agricultural terms that I should be using, but yeah, it's very important for the ground and the environment to be prepared, particularly for women.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Ground is being worked. I think let's throw it to Jabulile.
No, I absolutely agree. I just want to say mainstreaming is basically, it's a process for assessing the implications for women and men of any planned action, whether it be legislation, policies, programs. It really is a strategy for making the concerns and experiences of women an integral part of design, monitoring, whatever policies or programs we're putting in place, are all to make sure that ultimately both genders, they benefit equally. And more importantly, to make sure that inequality is not perpetuated. That's the ultimate goal, that we achieve gender equality, and that, like what these webinar series are doing right now, to remove the stigma that women are not technically capable, by sharing, and we've had many people speak here. We've had people speak about the structural design, about we had someone speak about electricity the other day. It is just, again, to break that stigma that women should be boxed into maybe only the softer areas of engineering, but to level the playing fields to say, we can design, we can get involved in construction, we can have good fights with contractors, we are capable. That is how you mainstream in the engineering field. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much. I see there's another one that I want to put some focus on is for Tshidi and Jabulile again. I think I'm going to throw it to you first, Jabulile. Do you believe the engineering profession still ranks highly in terms of enhancing employability perspectives? So it's in the chat box. I'm going to read it again. Do you believe the engineering profession still ranks highly in terms of enhancing employability perspectives or prospects?
Yeah, so definitely the civilian needs engineers in order to design infrastructure systems that will help them live. We cannot live without engineers. Yes, maybe the industry has not been as attractive and maybe not to the female gender as much as maybe others where it's seen as you can quickly economically climb and earn a lot. But with time, the value of engineers has been seen and elevated and promoted. With every industry, there is cycles, there's ups and downs. Like right now, we could be going through a workload decline due to the economy and some of the commodity prices in mining, etc. But ultimately, the engineer is going to provide these solutions that are going to drive infrastructure development, make lives better. So yes, I believe that engineering is attractive, is rewarding, and we still need to keep advocating for our young people to choose engineering as their study choice for the future.
Tshidi, I'm going to throw it to
Thank you so much, John. No, absolutely. I could not agree with Jabulile more. However, looking at it from a different lens is that as engineers, and I think this example actually comes from CESA. You know, when you have a doctor and they make a mistake with one patient, it's only one life that is affected. However, when a building collapses like it did last year, it's a lot of lives that are impacted. So absolutely, engineering profession should still be ranked highly, and particularly with the engineering, the identification of engineering work that is highlighted and driven by and facilitated by EXA. I think we need to, that also helps us to elevate our professions as engineers, because for the last couple of years, we've had a lot of people operating as engineers, but not necessarily being professionally registered. And I think that's why, again, for me, I believe that it needs to be ranked highly. For a very long time, we haven't taken it seriously, and it should actually be given the its rightful position.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot for that. I think all comes down to some of our engineers and professionals are also going abroad. We're losing crucial skills, and I think this is leading up to the next question for both of you guys. So, is what reasons would you like to present to encourage engineers to remain in a technical or a design office role? What words of encouragement can you bring to the table to solidify themselves, to say that there is hope? You are not silent. I'm reading through the chats. I see there's very good questions and some serious questions as well. But I think from your perspective, I think let's focus on keeping and encouraging engineers. What words of encouragement can be said to remain technical or design office roles? I think Tshidi, you can think about it for a second. If you're ready, otherwise,
Jabulile can go first.
Yeah, so just on the matter of engineers leaving, there is a trend now of engineers returning. Even us in our company, we've had someone return, which is encouraging. We're going to get him to give talks about why not to leave.
Great.
I think one of the things that we don't talk about a lot is just that this is our dear land. It has its challenges, but there is a sense of responsibility and just national duty for us to use our talents and our resources in order to better the country. And if we all just depart with that mentality of the infrastructures that we are designing and building and commissioning, whether it be waste treatment facilities, whether it be sewer reticulation systems, is bettering the environment for our people. And that brings a sense of pride. Even though you might not be acknowledged because maybe some of the things you're doing are buried deep underground and these pipelines are working magnificently, but they don't stand tall and proud for you to boast about and get recognition for. But deep down inside, you feel good that you are in your own small way contributing to the betterment of the lives of the people of South Africa. So that would be my encouragement, to go beyond the here, but see the bigger picture of what your small contribution, together with mine, together with Tshidi's, together with Jean's, is doing to build a better South Africa.
Powerful.
Well said. Jean, I think on my side, earlier on when I was talking about the vision that I had when I particularly started AvenirHoldings, maybe just to give a bit of insight. Avenir it's a French word that means future. And the reason why we went with that name particularly was actually for us to see a better future for Africa. And my vision for starting the company was really to contribute to the immense development potential that Africa as a whole has. If you look at Africa, you look at the Western world, you look at Europe and East, most of these countries are developed, right? But there's an immense developmental need for Africa. And if we don't stay in technical positions or roles, then we are taking away from impacting that and impacting that development. And just knowing that you were part of a development, not just of your country, but of your continent, for me, it's just something that will make me sleep better at night. And even when I die, I'll say, you know, I contributed to my continent. So my love is more, it goes beyond, because there's just so much potential for Africa as a whole.
It's all about legacy. The legacy.
It's all about legacy. It's all about legacy, what you leave behind.
Yeah.
No, what a great answer. I think for the time, I think we can do one more, Godfrey, and then we can close out our Q&A session. So just in terms of, again, for both, do you see yourself as an expert or a manager in the engineering sector? I think I see you as an expert or manager or professionals or advocates. So I think I want to hear it from both of you, just so that our speakers can also get the encouragement that they need.
Yeah. So, okay. So for me, it's both, right? I still get involved in quite a lot of technical work, whether it be, workshopping around design at the commencement phase, kicking off, reviewing drawings, going to site when there's a problem and they're like, Jabulile must come and sort it out. That's what makes me keep alive. If I don't go to site, if 2 weeks or 3 weeks goes and I haven't been out to site or got myself involved in the depth of a design, I start twitching. It's not good for me. And because I'm an engineer first, I studied engineering, and that is my first love. And being able to fulfill that makes me a better manager. So, yeah, that's my answer.
Great.
On my side, I think as an entrepreneur, you learn to wear a lot of caps in the process. So I am both technical and I'm both manager, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with wearing the caps all at the same time. I don't think in today's world it's always easy to say this is a little room for this and that, but you need to be able to intersect and be able to wear different caps for different situations. And I think if you can allow me, Jean, I think I see a question that has been there for a while now. Somebody was asking why did I leave corporate? I reached my ceiling. I felt like I reached my ceiling at the time. And I think I had what Jabulile is saying. I had a twitching that I in me that said I was created for something bigger than being an employee. And the environment that I was exposed to encouraged me and reminded me that I'm also able to create an environment that I want. And I think with most corporates, the environments are not always as user-friendly as we would want them to. And I wanted to create something that I knew I could make a difference in somebody else's life. And that's the main reason why I started the company. But over and above that, so I come from Kimberley. My mom was was one of those mamas who had a tuck shop, and on every month, and she would do the braais at the taxi ranks. So I had that mentality of wanting to do my own something, wanting to run my own business on a bigger scale. And I think as learning from my own background in terms of business, on a small scale, business management and doing your own thing was always a seed that was probably planted in me by my parents. And I knew that I needed to, at that time, I needed to go because the room was not big enough for this tree to grow in. Yeah. I hope that answers you, Kanyisa.
Nice. Thank you very much. That's inspiring. I think as we can close off the session, I think we need to highlight as well, it's Youth Month. So I would just like some key lessons for us as youth. Obviously, me being the chair of YPF, I always like to focus on the youth as well for our committees and inspiring them. I think maybe just say 2 to 3 sentences to make it short and sweet but powerful, just so that we can close off this webinar on a high note. Already on a high note because we had some fantastic speakers today celebrating their achievements with us. It's very inspiring. So I think in closing, about 2 to 3 words of inspiration, and then I think we can close off our webinar. So I'll start with Jabulile. I think you are the trendsetter. So let's go with you.
Okay, so I just want to say to the youth or those who are young at heart or those who are still developing in their careers, one thing you need to remember is that if it is to be, it is up to you. I think a lot of young people enter the workplace and they think that Jabulile is sitting there at her desk thinking, how am I going to develop CPO? Okay, CPO, I'm going to send on this training, I'm going to do that. And you just need to remember that there is 200 more CPOs. So you need to speak up, you need to advocate for yourself. You need to come and say, I've identified this training, can I go? Put up your hand. Because if you're going to sit and wait, you're going to get frustrated and then you're going to think you're being left behind. But those who ask are the ones who get. So take action, take ownership of your growth and pursue that dream and keep knocking. It will be no. One day it will be yes.
Absolutely. Right. So today I sit here as not just as a CEO, but as a mentor, a mother, a board member, a speaker, a woman of technical brilliance. But more than that, I sit as someone who remembers that little girl at the back of that bakkie, and I say to every young woman listening today, and even young males listening today, your journey must start in a small space. It doesn't have to start big. You start small in a cramped car. Circumstances don't decide where you will be. You decide where you want to be tomorrow. So if it's your purpose, go for it. Bring that door if there's no door for you to knock on. Bring that table if there's no space for you to sit around, so go for it.
Oh, great, great. With this, thank you for engaging as professionals in the industry. Thank you for your time. Myself, really appreciating. It was a real honor in facilitating this session. I learned a lot from you too. It's really inspiring. It's a lot to take in, so I'll have to go and sit and jot everything down. But yeah, from my end, Godfrey, am I allowed to close out our session?
Yes, thank you, everyone. So we're gonna stop the session. Thank you.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Bye.
Bye.